Yo, what's up, guys? I just took second place at the UK Creator Clash, and I'm gonna break down how I did it. The Creator Clash is a tournament run by Tech. Last time it was run by Super Tech God and Loot Muncher as well, but this time we had a few other people helping around like Raven and Alphos. The last tournament was a $1,000 prize pool in New York. I actually took second place in that one, and then I took second place in this tournament as well, which was a $5,000 prize pool. Took home $1,500, pretty sweet. And let's get into how I did it. So to start it all off, there were 18 players, including myself, and really high caliber players. I'm going to show the list on the screen right here so you can see a lot of really strong competition. And everybody knows when there's a lot of money on the line, people are going to bring the best decks, the best of the best, bringing the best decks. So while I was thinking of decks to bring to the tournament, I was thinking of what they were going to bring. So obviously things that come to mind are Lockjaw, High Evo, Lockjaw, High Evo. You got bounce decks, and you also have like Wave, Sandman kind of ramp decks. Maybe a splash of Galactus after he got changed, I'm not sure. But those were the thoughts that were going through my mind. So thinking of Lockjaw and High Evo, I wanted to play something that would get over those decks. Also, we did see the OTA changes happen right before the tournament went live, so I saw that Shuri was getting buffed as well, but Shuri actually emits about the same power as the Lockjaw decks typically. So my bounce deck that I have right here actually puts out more power than the Lockjaw deck on average. This is just like a pure power-based bounce deck. Like, I don't have any tech cards in here. My highest cost card is Beast, and it's just emitting a lot of power. So I knew that this deck, I play this deck quite a lot, and it's actually like my favorite archetype in Marvel Snap at the moment. And I know that it gets over the Lockjaw, so I thought this would be the perfect bring for my first deck. I have a couple videos breaking down the bounce deck, but I mean, we have so many cards in here that can get so large, like Kitty Pryde. Of course, we have Angela, we have Hit Monkey, we have Collector. I don't know why that. We have Collector, and we have Bishop as well. And all of these cards can get so large. And then we just have some other cards that also put out power, and that's what it's all about. I just wanted to get over the Lockjaw decks and also beat the other bounce decks. Now, of course, that bounce does get countered pretty hard by Wave, Sandman kind of decks. So I did also lock down. So I did have to make another deck in preparation for those decks. So the tournament format was you bring two decks, and neither deck can share cards with each other. So if I'm running Kitty Pryde in this deck, I can't play Kitty Pryde in my other deck. So I had to bring another deck that does well against the other matchups that I didn't want to play bounce against. So I ended up settling on this Nobility deck, which is basically just no ability card. It's Patriot. It's Patriot. I figured the Patriot would do pretty well against lockdown decks since I can get into those other lanes with Dr. Doom and Debris as well. And I figured that Debris would help me against a potential Galactus gamer. I also figured this deck could put out like a decent amount of power before a Wave Sandman kind of thing comes down. And if they do put down Wave, I do have some big things to drop like Onslaught or Dr. Doom, or even like a Blue Marvel. I also put in a Super Scroll in here just because I thought that people would probably think the same way as me and would bring a Patriot deck. So for the other Patriot decks, I have a Super Scroll. And it also turned out that a lot of players that brought bounce decks, they actually had Iron Man in their bounce decks. So it worked out even better than I thought. I also have Invisible Woman in this deck just in case of Enchantress or Rogues. So it would protect my other ongoing cards. And Invisible Woman actually felt like the weakest card in the deck. Didn't really do too much, but it did do a lot in the first match of the top 8. It actually won me that series. I won a 7-cube game. My Iron Lad turned into Invisible Woman, and I was able to hide like really powerful cards behind it and secure the win, because knowledge is everything in Marvel Snap, especially battle mode. Knowing when to snap, knowing when to retreat, knowing what your opponent has in their hand or on the board, and Invisible Woman hiding those cards, it really creates a secrecy. And yes, your opponent can see how much energy you spend or what turn it is, and they can have a guess of what you played there. But it actually ended up pulling off a really big surprise factor. And honestly, Iron Lad was the MVP of this deck. It won so many games for me. It would turn. There were so many times where it would turn into Iron Man, or it would turn into like a Brood or a Mr. Sinister and get copies of itself, or even Doctor Doom. Like it was just really strong, and I really loved it. I'll be putting the codes of these decks down below in the description, so if you are interested, check those out right there. I think they are very solid in battle mode. I think that the bounce deck is stronger, but it depends on what you play against, really. I think this deck does have a lot of game against a lot of decks. I think it is weak against bounce because bounce just gets so tall. This does a good job of getting pretty wide, pretty decently big, but more wide instead of tall. So maybe if you want to run this deck yourself, I would maybe cut the Super Scroll, maybe cut the Invisible Woman, and go from there. So like I said, my strategy throughout the tournament was if somebody has a Wave Sandman kind of deck, I'm probably going to queue up my Patriot deck. Me and my girlfriend, we had stayed up the night before the tournament in our hotel room, planning out every single matchup. So going through the list of players, going through all of their decks, it was open list, and basically planning out if we play against that player, what deck are we going to queue up against them. I stuck to the list the whole entire time, and it worked out really well for me. The only thing I regret is in the finals. This is my second time going against Lambie series in the tournament, and I could have queued up my bounce deck. I thought he was going to queue up his bounce deck, so I want him to queue up my bounce deck for the best odds, but I stuck with my strategy, and at the end of the day, I think I gave myself a solid shot to win. Now, of course, there's some mind games that you can do when you're trying to plan out what deck you want to queue up. Like, if you think your opponent... So, let's say my opponent brings a Wave and Sandman deck, and they see my lineup, then they probably know that I'm not going to queue up my bounce deck against it because it's too risky. So then, since I know that they're not going to queue that up, or since I know that they know that I'm not going to queue it up, then maybe I queue it up anyway. You know, you can do a strategy like that, but... I just stuck with my same strategy that I was saying before, and it still worked out really well. Sometimes taking risks is good, sometimes it's not. It's very scary in a best of one format because you only have that one match. So, I mean, anything could happen. If you do queue up in like the wrong deck into that counter matchup there, then you just get screwed over. So going into the finals, I didn't think I could take that risk. So I went with the Patriot deck that I actually had played against Lambie the previous day. In our first round of the tournament, and I actually should have won that match, but I didn't just misplay right at the very end. So I thought I had a solid shot, but in the end, bounce just prevailed, and I lost. And I regret not playing my bounce deck, but I also really don't regret sticking to my strategy that worked the entire tournament until that moment. I ended up taking second place, taking home $1,500. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of awesome individuals. Gonna show a little picture on the screen right here. It was such a blast. Got to hang out with my girlfriend for a week there. It was amazing. And yeah, that's the story of how I took second place at the UK Creator Clash tournament. Shout out to the sponsors. Shout out to Patriot Deck. Everybody helping produce this event. It was so fun. And yeah, that's 2 times in a row being runner-up. So always a bridesmaid, never a bride, you know. Next tournament for sure, I'll be up there. And if you want to see the VOD of the tournament, you can head over to Patriot Deck's channel. I will leave that in the description as well. I hope you check it out. There were some awesome matches there, except for the final match. That was not so awesome because I lost. But yeah, hope you check it out. Peace out. Thanks for watching. It's your boy.